Welcome to a podcast focusing on data in education, one of a series of podcasts which are designed to explore the purpose of data in education, its goods, its bads, and hopefully see if we can identify any common themes that may exist across all of our different speakers. The podcast is provided by Humanity Education. You can find us at humanity.com.au or look us up on LinkedIn. I am joined today by Bianca Coleborn. Now, Bianca, unusual for lots of guests, I've got three different titles. I've got Director of Marketing. I've got the founder of the School Marketing Manifesto. And you are also the person who sits behind the Strategic School Marketing Retreats. So
Yes.
you're a busy person. Most people have got one title and you're already rolling out three. I guess it's an opportunity to tell us a little bit about you, but I guess what motivates you? Where does your energy come from and your passion to do all those different things?
I think working in school marketing for the past 14 years has taught me to, enjoy being a busy person. You know how they say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I am a very busy person and I have given some of this stuff to myself. So I actually spent the first 8 years of my career working in politics and in corporate marketing in ASX 200 companies. And then at the end of 2010, I went to my first school, and then I've been in schools. I'm at my fourth school now, and at Faith Lutheran College in Plainland, which is an amazing school. But look, in 2020, when everyone was, dealing with a certain pandemic, I started a business instead. So, School Marketing Manifesto, I guess, is something that has come from. One of the things in marketing is it's really important to understand your audience. And I know what it's like to be a lonely school marketer, overwhelmed by all the jobs that you have to do. And I know that there are others out there. So that's my aim, is to help other school marketers, to bring us together, to, give them tools to help them be more informed and to make great decisions and to get on top of that never-ending workload. So that's how School Marketing Manifesto was born, and then from that, the Strategic School Marketing Retreats are a bit of a passion project for me. I get to hang out with a bunch of school marketers in a luxury destination and teach them how to write their marketing plan, and a big part of your marketing plan is knowing your data. So that's why I'm so happy to be here with you today, Richard.
Yeah, ideal. That sounds, when you say exotic location, I'm in. Sign me up. I was like, that sounds fantastic. Look, and there was something that you said there, Bianca, which I just wanted to comment on. You talked about helping other school marketers, and that's really clear to me. And when I was trying to decide who do I want on this podcast, who do I want to come and cover all the different elements of data in education, and I came across your profile on LinkedIn. And what I loved about it was I see its intention is to help others. And I have no very limited marketing experience. I have no doubt it can be relatively cutthroat and dog eat dog, because when you're marketing one, you're not marketing the other. But you seem to have found this way of bringing it together with a common purpose and a common goal and helping people. And I think that's something which is wonderful and really important. So if that's something I pick up to share with you, then so be it. That said, while I was on your LinkedIn profile, I actually found, and this is what really made me think Bianca needs to be on my podcast. This is what you wrote. I'm nerding out over the diagnosis, statistics, strategy, tactics, and design to help other school marketers like me to organize our thoughts and generate tangible results at our respective schools. Now, the term nerding out, I love that term. Resonates, fits, perfect, and it actually makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Question one, how does data inform all of the work that you do?
Yeah, look, thank you for not mentioning the photo that was, hair everywhere and, no makeup or anything. I'd literally been up since 4 a.m. that morning and just went, you know what, I'm going to share this because this is a real behind the scenes moment of me preparing for the retreat. So the idea with the retreats is that everyone who attends will walk away with a finished marketing plan that they can go back and work with their principal and their business manager. And so, the first step for that is to look at the data. I think sometimes, and I'm going to, bring up the elephant in the room, is that in schools, marketing is not always, given the attention and the respect that it deserves. We're seen as sometimes, a bit of decoration, and, we do some, pretty things. Can you make this PowerPoint pretty? And, that kind of thing. And yes, we can do that stuff, but the real guts of marketing lies behind that tactical stuff. So often when you get into marketing, you focus on the tactical elements. So these are the things that you see and do. So you can see, the social media posts, you can see the digital ads, you can see a billboard, you can see the newsletter articles, you can see those things. And I think because a lot of people can see those things, they don't look that difficult really. And so, there's a long, there's a joke across the broader marketing industry that everybody thinks they're a marketer and everyone tells us how to do our job. And it's kind of true. And I think in schools, there's a really neat parallel in that a lot of people, everybody's been to school. So everybody thinks they know schools, and everybody likes to tell us how, schools should be run. Am I right? So, but we're also our own worst enemies in that if we just keep focusing on the tactics and just the doing, and in schools, there's so much to do. We have to be marketing generalists, which mean that we have to, in the corporate world, you can focus on an area. You can just be an SEO expert, or you can just be a branding expert. In schools, we don't have that luxury. We have to be able to do everything and anything. And sometimes we have to do it, several things all in the space of, an hour. So we have to be really agile and really capable people. But what that means is you can get caught up being really busy doing the tactical things, which is fine. But if you want to be a great marketer, and I'd say good marketers do the tactical stuff. If you want to be a great marketer, then you need to have a decent strategy that underpins that. And that strategy will help you identify the things that you should be focusing on, the things that you should be saying no to, and, identifying what the problem is and how do we actually find a way to fix that. Good marketers focus on the tactics and getting the job done. Great marketers also have a strategy, but I would say expert marketers go one step further, and that means that they focus on the diagnosis. They use the data, they use the numbers to truly understand what's going on before they build that strategy, and then they have that strategy in place before they can really implement the tactics well. And what that means is at the end of the day, you become far more organized. You can make decisions, you can make good decisions on the run, and it just means that you get better results for the school. And that's what we all want. We want to achieve great results. And you also know why things worked well. Like you can be really lucky and things work well, but you don't know why. When you have that strategy and that diagnosis in place, then you can really start to understand how things work, and then you can dial it in so that they keep working and you keep getting those great results and things keep growing.
Look, I think that's fantastic. Let me just check. Diagnostics to strategy to tactics.
Yes.
Look, I love it. And, Bianca, we spoke before we hit record on the podcast. And, when we say data and education, we're always thinking about results and we're thinking about student outcome. It's really interesting. I sit here listening to you, and your language is actually exactly the same as what I think a principal's language is, in terms of we've got to look at the data, the diagnostic, we've got to develop our strategy, and then our tactics is actually, this is what we can do. These are our actions. So it's really it's strange how in a completely different, I guess, field or stream within education, we've got such similarity and such strength. I think that's crucial.
It really is. It actually draws me to a point that we hadn't discussed prior to this podcast, but something that I'm really passionate about, and that's that marketing deserves a seat at the leadership table at schools. I'm a member of my current school's leadership team. At my previous school I was, but the first two schools I worked for, I wasn't, which meant I wasn't privy to a lot of the decisions that were being made. I wasn't privy to a lot of the data that was taking place. So it was almost like flying blind with what I was doing. So I think schools, obviously, we invest so much into teachers as a resource, but I would encourage schools to look at, if you don't have a senior marketer on your team, look at what the value of that can bring, because it can really, the return on investment is, quite astronomical if you've got someone that really, has that training and experience.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Bianca, but I'm actually gonna fully support that statement. One of the last things I did in my last school was I went through a leadership restructure, and I actually brought enrollments and marketing was sort of rolled into one. I actually brought that up onto the leadership team because I thought that is providing an external perspective that nobody in the day-to-day is going to see. So you are the ones who are often looking out when everybody else is looking down and around. So I'll agree with you on that one.
I'm thrilled to hear that. You're good. You're one of the awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. But you're right. The numbers that we're looking at, and we can talk a little bit more about that in the moment. But I like to say we're the canary in the coal mine sometimes. We can see things that are coming and, and be briefing people like there's a problem here that we need to address. And if we're not involved at the leadership level, then, we don't necessarily have that platform to raise that with those people who can help us to make a difference and turn things around before they become a really big problem.
Wrote an article on canary in the coal mine 2 months ago. So well worth a read. Well worth a read. Now, moving back to data and education, one of my, I guess, what would I call it? Points of fear, points of celebration. It vary every now and then. External data. So whether that's NAPLAN, I'm going to compact as external because it's a standardized test. The ATAR results that come out every year. Different schools have different philosophies. So it's not so much about your philosophy on that, but how does that data influence your work?
I'll start off with ATAR. Of course, it's important for us to celebrate the wins. We want to celebrate our students, and we need to put that information out there. What I personally, and I'm speaking from experience here, I once worked for a school where they had a really academic cohort whose results were through the roof. And then the following year, they had a group of students who weren't as academic, but they were phenomenal in performing arts. Like, we're talking, these guys were superstars with the performing arts. Their results didn't match the ones from the previous year.
Yeah.
And then a certain newspaper decided to do a hack job on the school and, on how the results had fallen down. And it was probably in that moment that I realized just how unfair those league tables can be, because those students who, may not have had the same academic results as the year before, the school didn't fail them. The school gave those students every opportunity to achieve to the highest level in the area where they, had their passions. They still had decent results, but it was just in comparison, that contrast to the previous year. And I just thought how sad that these amazing kids that we work with have been reduced to a number. And, that's what people think is the most important thing. I think when it comes to schools, it's really natural for a lot of parents to think that academic outcomes is the be all and end all, but it's not. And it's our job to educate parents that there is so much more to education than the grade on the paper. We're here to influence these young people to prepare them for a life, in a future that we don't even know what that's going to look like. And there are so many skills, so many opportunities, and so many things that schools need to do to help prepare children for that. And I think that, just that ATAR number at the end it kind of breaks my heart, if I'm being really honest. Having said that, you do want to celebrate the students' results. You do want to celebrate your high achievers, and that's something that we definitely do. But I'm always really cautious to always include with that, you are more than a number. You are dancers, you're public speakers, you're leaders, you're all of these things. We care about all of you, not just those ones that got the top ATAR in the state. So that's how I feel about ATAR. NAPLAN, I feel my personal philosophy is that that's not a marketing tool. We shouldn't be using that. Don't get me started on high schools who brag about their year 7 results when that's got absolutely nothing to do with them. But really, the only thing in terms of NAPLAN that I would be interested in showcasing and sharing would be the growth. So if we can demonstrate the growth that our students have achieved based on, the work that we've done with them, yeah, absolutely. I think that that's an ethical thing to be sharing with people, but otherwise I see it as an internal diagnostic tool that should be used, for the purpose that it was built for, and that's to help our students grow and to become, better learners.
You're making my heart sing. There's very little in there that I would disagree with. And what's important, Bianca, is, in a podcast which is titled Data and Education, it's so easy to jump into let's talk about analysis. How do we use our data to get better? Those things are really important. Absolutely. Because they are, like you say, they are diagnostic tools, which is that level that you started with when you were talking about the different levels of marketing. League tables exist coming from the United Kingdom. One thing the United Kingdom did, which I think was better, was they said, your child has started here. This is how much they've grown. Do you know, it is so difficult to find that. in Australia. I have asked some pretty significant people, can you tell me how much they should grow on this test to this test? No, they can't. We used to call it expected growth and above expected growth because it's about value add. Because if you've got a great kid who's not getting any better, just happens to be a great kid, those numbers are a point in time test and they serve a particular purpose and they should be used for that. I don't mind people having awareness of growth. I don't think it's a marketing tool. I think it's a transparency tool. That is not a league table, though. I don't believe a league table is a transparency tool. I think it comes down to individual schools just understanding how they're performing and using it to set their strategy going forward. I agree. And ATAR has one purpose. It is the tertiary rank for semi-degree university. That's it. Nothing else.
And
Now,
look, sorry, I was just going to say,
go.
you know, not every student needs an ATAR 99 and not every student wants to be a doctor.
No,
you know,
just about to say that. If you want to go to Con, one of the most elite venues you can go to perfect your skill, it's an audition. And actually your ATAR is relevant. And just really interesting because I think that's a conversation that we can have. I think lots of principals can have, lots of marketers can have. I'm not sure it's a conversation the parents can have. And maybe therein lies the gap in terms of the literacy of what things are, what things are for. But I think the way you articulated it was beautiful, and I agree with it entirely. It's a challenge, right? Because that school, whichever school it was, that went through I guess a period of exposure or comparison, which you should never do either, on their results. You know, that really affects everything that happens at that school. You've got the morale. You've got people reflecting on their own practice. You've even got the students looking at the results going, oh, wow, that we've done bad for our school. Yeah. And that's a really difficult message to have to navigate through a school community. So no doubt that dark side of data exists. And I think it's people like yourself then that actually have got to change some of that narrative. Principals do it, but if a principal stands up and says it, some parents should be sitting there going, sounds like we're getting bad results this year. I've seen it. As soon as a principal has tried to sort of talk it down, he can't have any faith in the confidence of this cohort. It's like, no, I'm genuinely telling you the truth. And it takes time, I think, for people to adopt this new mindset.
That's why I always use that wording. Your child is more than a number. There's so much more than that number at the end. Yes, it's important that we help them to reach their potential, but if they don't get there, there are so many other benefits that they're going to gain from the school that we're marketing to them. So yeah, and that's the difference too. That we're not just marketing to new families coming in. Like, it's our job to be constantly reinforcing to our current families that you've made the right decision. So if you've got a school that's prep or foundational, reception or whatever state you're in, all the way through to year 12, you've got an internal marketing agenda that you need to have as well. So you need to be, like I said, parents can always make a decision to go somewhere else, particularly when it comes from that crossover from primary school to secondary school. Yeah. So it's our retention, I see, is a huge part of our marketing in schools. And so we need to, be educating parents about, this is what it's all about. This is what it's really about. And this is what we stand for as a school. We're not a school who only cares about that number that they get at the end of year 12. We care about the development of the whole child.
Now, you alluded to the start of the podcast. In the diagnostic phase, you're looking at lots of different data. I'm assuming you're not sitting there looking at the ATAR or NAPLAN outcomes and then deciding how are we going to bring in better children in order to get better ATAR outcomes. So if that's not the data you're looking at, what is it? What data in education drives you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so my specialty in school marketing is enrollments. So there are other specialties that we can be looking at, fundraising and alumni and that kind of thing. But I'm very much, I'm an enrollment specialist. So for me, I'm looking at our census data. I'm looking at the numbers that, not only just our total numbers across the years, and I've only ever worked in co-ed schools. So looking at the gender balance as well, because it's interesting to go, are we attracting more boys than girls? Is there a reason for that? Is it, historical? Is it traditional? Is it just, the number of babies that were born that year? What's going on there with that? But then I also like to look at the cohorts as well and look at what's happening within each cohort. So you might start off prep with a full cohort, and then you might just be bleeding enrollments each year, and then you might have a surge up in year 5 or something, or in year 7. So really looking for those patterns, seeing where things are going wrong. I also like to look at, sometimes if you're having no problems with acquisition, with getting people in the door, that can mask if you've got a problem with withdrawals. So I like to see, where are we losing students? Because that's a problem. That's a problem with retention that we really need to address. So, but like I said, if you're still getting them in the door, that can get masked a little bit. So you need to dig deeper into the data and identify where are the withdrawals coming from, and what are the reasons for that? Are there particular year levels? Where are the problems? And, so then we can develop the strategies to find a solution to that and to reverse anything negative that's happening. So I'm looking at census data. I'm also then looking at our lead data as well. So I am a big fan of Digistorm Funnel. It's a CRM where we, the leads all come into that and we track them going from each stage in the pipeline. So to give you an example, at my school, and most schools should have something like this in place. You start off with inquiry, then it goes through to school visit, then from school visit, application, from application, we do testing, but you might jump straight to interview, then it's offer sent, offer accepted, whatnot. I want to see between each one of those steps in the pipeline, how many people are actually converting. So where are we losing people? Where's the churn in that? Also, where's the lag in that pipeline? So the churn is where are we losing people? So maybe they've come to a school visit, didn't like the place, or they looked at the fee schedule and went, we can't afford it. They don't submit an application. The lag is where in your enrollment pipeline are things slowing down. Now, my philosophy is a quick enrollment is a good enrollment. So if you find that something's holding things up, things are holding things back, then you need to address that. So everything I'm looking at in the diagnosis, I'm looking for problems. I'm, looking for opportunities. So, where are things going well and we can build on that. But I'm a problem solver. I think most school marketers are by nature. We have to be problem solvers because we're going around putting out fires all day long. So, but that's what I'm really looking at with that data there. So what I do at the retreats is we spend a bit of time working on our census data. We look at our lead data. We build out a situational analysis. Then we look at our competitors as well. Now, I am one of those person who likes to run my own race and not be looking over my shoulder at what my competitors are doing. But I think it's really valuable to at least understand who's who in the zoo, what the fees are, what sets you apart, what are your competitive advantages, because then you can really play to your strengths. And I think at the end of the day, you said something about attracting better students. I don't subscribe to that, but I do really care deeply about attracting the right families, so the people who are the right fit for the school that I work at. So it's our job to communicate who we are, what we stand for, and our school's identity in such a way that we attract people who come to the school and really love it. Now, an example of that from my previous school, I used to work for Concordia Lutheran College up in Toowoomba, and in 2020 we released a video called Queensland's Best Kept Secret. And that video went viral in the best possible way. It was watched over 100,000 times. It was very tongue-in-cheek. The main line of it is, nobody's ever heard of us. Nobody knows what we're famous for. We're not famous for anything, was kind of the joke behind it. And the kids in it was a musical. They sang the whole thing. They danced. They had fun. They were happy. And like I said, it was watched all around Australia and the world. But it was the opposite of the normal school video. That's usually very earnest, very serious, shots of the principal, we all the things that schools say, and that, as a result, all end up looking the same. But this was very much like, we're not very good at sport and we're not very good at this. Sorry, school bell. I'm at school today.
Whoa, let's just pause. That is a fantastic bell.
It is, right? I really like it. But anyway, with this video, the whole how many times it was watched and like, that's just vanity metrics. I'm not sure if you've come across that term in your world, but vanity metrics are things that make you feel good about yourself but don't really mean anything at all. Just because it was watched 100,000 times doesn't mean that we got 100,000 applications. But what we did get was a 600% increase in applications over the 6 months after that video. And what was most important about that was that because it really showed that we were a down-to-earth, school that, was happy in our own skin. Our kids loved school. You could see their love and their happiness come through. We attracted the kind of families who were like, that's what I want for my school. I don't want, an elite school that is focusing on that. I want somewhere where my kids can be happy. And we got from what I've heard, even though I'm not there anymore, people are still enrolling and saying that they saw that video and that was when they first saw it. So that's about, and that's where we talk about, you know, that competitor, figuring out who you are, and how you stand out from your competition. So we look at that data as well, and then we've got other nerdy data to look at, like our website statistics, our social media statistics. I even love looking at Open Day this year, really going through and going, what were the number of new leads, what were the existing leads, you know, how many groups attended, how many individuals attended, and then mapping that across the previous Open Day, because I'm super competitive. I blame that on a childhood in pony club and netball, but you know, I'm always trying to beat my own results. So if you don't have that data, how can you possibly be striving to improve and to be getting better? So I love that data, just purely to keep myself accountable and to, you know, keep hitting those goals.
There's a lot of quantitative data in there. You talk about the numbers, you're talking about all those stats coming through. What's your thoughts on the qualitative, you know, the feedback, the conversations, the written comments that you receive in your world?
Oh, so important. Like, I always say this, and I'm yet to not be offered the job. And at my job interviews, I'll say 50% of what I do is with my head and the other 50% is with my gut. Like, I honestly think being able to follow your instincts, to go with gut feel on things. Having said that, that comes with experience as well. Like when you've, you know, that helps you inform that. So if you can take that data, but then look at the other things that are having to have those conversations, to listen to the hearsay, to always, you know, I joked the other day with a student. We were filming a campaign that we'll be releasing later in the year, and she had no idea who I was. And to say to her, like, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are, because it's my job to be behind the scenes and to understand who people are. But I'm not the face of, you know, I'm like I said, it's okay that you don't know who I am. So yeah, always to be listening, always to be, we call it social listening when you look at your social media and that kind of thing, but you get a feel for that positive word of mouth or otherwise. And word of mouth is the holy grail of school marketing, and that's what makes it so challenging. So I always say that there's 3 pillars to school marketing. There's it's a massive time commitment. So even if it's high school, that's 6 years. If they're going all the way through, that's 13 years straight off the bat for one child. You have a couple of kids, you've got the 2 to 5 years that we know from research it takes kids, families to choose which school they're going to go to. That's a 20-year relationship, and for some people that's longer than their marriages. So it's a really long time commitment. It's a huge financial investment. I know from my child's school, when she was in kindy, I ran the figures for the school at that point in time. And obviously I can't know what the fee increases would be, but just, you know, what it was at that point in time was more than $100,000 just for her. If you have 2 or 3 kids, again, that's coming close to, you know, second only to the family home. But it's also a massive emotional investment as well. So in that emotion, that's the intangible stuff that, you know, we need to make sure that we understand the hearts and minds of our families. So when we're looking at our data, we look at our demographic data. So, you know, what are the best streets that people are coming from? How much are they earning? What are their jobs? What are their, you know, education? That's only half of it for me when I'm looking at our ideal audience. The other half for me is what's in their hearts and what's in their minds. What are their aspirations for their children and for themselves? You know, for some of those elite schools, sometimes people want to be known as a grandma parent. You know, what are their desires? What are their non-negotiables? What are their fears and frustrations? Really understanding that is how we understand who we're talking to. So that way we can finesse our messaging and make sure that our tactics, which should be at the end of everything and not at the front, are the right ones, and they actually get those results that we want.
I think, I mean, that's spot on. It's a conversation which I think, I guess, having sat with a team, all of that resonates. I feel like anybody working in a school needs to go through that process and that conversation just to understand all the different things that are involved. And I remember when I was leading a school, I read a book and it said your greatest KPI as a principal is your enrollment data, because actually it said a lot about what's gone before, and it says a lot about what people expected to come after. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And that was one of the reasons that I made the change that I made to the leadership structure. I think it's that significant. And, you know, I will just mention you're a part of the Lutheran system. And I think the Lutheran system is a real quiet performer. I think it's doing what it does and it's doing it really well. But just like Concordia, I think you said, it doesn't necessarily shout about it. It cares about it. And it is looking at hearts and minds. It's looking at the holistic development of individuals, and I think we need more schools to be doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. And it was interesting. It was after, you know, we released Queensland's Best Kept Secret, that video, and it's so humble. And I was like, this is so Lutheran. Like the Lutherans, I've been in, you know, I'm at my second Lutheran school, and I absolutely love being in this system. There's such a humility, and which is kind of a juxtaposition with marketing, because it's my job to shout from the rooftops how great we are, but in a way that really resonates with our audience. You know, I love my job, and I love it so much. That's why I'm doing business with helping other people who, who love it too.
I think that's clear. Which brings me to my final sort of point. I've actually got the dates written down in front of me because I've got them wrong previously. You have your retreat happening on the 11th and the 20th, 11 to the 20th?
Well, I have two of them. Yeah.
Two of them.
So,
talk us through them. Tell us where we're going, and tell us what we might be doing.
Right. So from the 11th to the 13th of August, we're heading to Noosa, or Noosa, as some people say, in Queensland. So I have an amazing bunch of about 20 school marketers coming up there. So we'll spend 2 days going through. We spend most of I'd say 2/3 of the first day working on the diagnosis stuff. And then we spend a good portion of the rest of the first day, and then most of the second day on the strategy. And then the tactics is like just the little bit at the end, because they all know how to do the tactics, but it's that diagnosis and strategy that we're really focusing on. And then the following week, from the 18th to the 20th, I'm heading down to Victoria, and I've got basically holding the twin event down there for people from all across Australia, if I'm being really honest. So I've got obviously Victorians, but I've got people coming from Queensland, New South Wales, and Western Australia to that one. So I held my first one in Byron Bay last year, which was super fun. I was born down there, so it was like my little home birthplace kind of first go at it. But I've kind of decided that it'd be nice to move it to different places around the country. So these ones are now sold out, which is in my second year I'm super proud of. And I guess I'm just going to get through them and then decide where to next. So if anyone has any ideas, jump on my website and give me a yell. I've got a lot of friends over in Western Australia, and I'd be interested to potentially hold one over there sometime.
That's a perfect opportunity for you to actually say what your website's called.
Oh, yes. So it's School Marketing Manifesto, and the web address is simply schoolmarketingmanifesto.com.
And do you know, if I was given a choice of going to Noosa or Victoria in the middle of August, pretty sure I know which one I'd go to.
Well, look, here's the thing though. Noosa started off strong, but then, so it's Werribee. So it's this beautiful old historic mansion, fabulous luxury hotel, the Lancemoor Mansion Hotel at Werribee. Noosa started off strong, but then Werribee took off and was suddenly the destination. And it was like, and then Noosa's caught up to it. So I don't know. I don't know. I need to dig into the data and understand.
It sounds like there's some diagnostics there that need to be completed, I think. So let's wrap this up. I'm gonna give you what I think is a summary of the points that you've shared today, and then feel free to affirm or to deny what you're thinking. So data is crucial. It's absolutely a fundamental part of what you do. It needs to be the bedrock and the foundation on which success is built. The data we're talking about is not ATAR. It is not NAPLAN. That is a different thing that serves a different purpose. And actually, we are probably doing a disservice by using it as marketing material, because we are adding to the cycle and the language and the perception that that's what it should be used for. You're saying marketers can help each other. They can actually help each other come together. And it's interesting because when you said they don't do much on tactics, I was like, well, that's with my art behind me. That's like my brain explosion. That's what I'm thinking of, the little things I'm going to do based on all this other amazing work this happened beforehand. So I think it's wonderful that they can help each other. And then it's about the hearts and minds. It's about the right people. And for anybody who's listening without video, I keep doing the quotation mark things. It's not about the better students or good students. It's about the right students. And I think for me, that's a message I really wanted to capture for you, because when you said it, I was like, that's beautiful. It's about the right students. And that means different things to different schools. And that's okay. And that's the way it should be. I think that's that would be my summary, I think, of what you're saying.
I think that's spot on. And look, I would have that caveat that for some schools, that ATAR results is what they pin everything on, and that might be right for their audience. They might have a clientele who just want 99 ATARs. They all want to go to doctor school. So,
Yeah,
and that's
beautiful
okay for
point.
them, but that's about knowing your school and understanding it. And those, I think that there's so much more that we can be doing as marketers to showcase what education truly does. And it's so much more than just that number at the end.
Wow. Look, I wouldn't have said that. That's a beautiful point. For some people, that's exactly what they're all about, right? And that again, that's okay. Gotta have it, right? Gotta have it. Bianca, it has been both delightful and insightful, I think, having the conversation with you today. I consider myself very lucky to have worked with the people that I've worked with in that marketing and enrollment skill set in that area. And without them, I think a principal could look really, really bad. So I have no doubt they've certainly helped me on my way. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment to supporting and helping others. And thank you for sharing the message with families that education is more than just an academic outcome. It is a part of the puzzle. But as one other podcast suggested, how do you measure creativity? How do we measure these other skills that people have got? How do you measure character? Because that is what parents really want. They want their child to be a good human being, and I think that's a wonderful message to come out of a data and education podcast. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the effort that you've put into today and for being so honest and upfront.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, humanity.com.au and then the schoolmanifesto.com. Did I get that right? Or is it strategic?
No, School Marketing Manifesto.
Oh, schoolmarketingmanifesto.com. I'll even put it in words at the bottom. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.